Cruyff turn the bailiff, dummy the rent, smash in a screamer and shout that spent. Welcome to the Burnie Podcast.
So in tonight's episode, I'm hoping that I don't get into trouble again. Mark needs a haircut, and we're going to speak to Blackburn United's Club Secretary, Alan Harris.
But first, Blackburn United were down at Creamery Park in Bathgate playing our local rivals in a tense affair that saw us lose 2-1. A fantastic penalty save from Blair Gallagher capped off another great performance from our keeper, who, according to sources, was a class above everyone else on the pitch that day. Jared, did you see any of this?
No, I seen Beansy's penalty save on Facebook, but probably best asking yourself, Alan, about that game.
Listen, it was a really close game. I was just saying to Mark before we started there, we had a really pretty good first half. The penalty came quite early, a wee bit soft, I think.
Very soft.
I think Blair, as you say, made a brilliant save, and then we had a good few chances. So we had a goal chopped off for offside, we hit the bar, we were playing pretty well, and we could have gone in even 2, maybe even 3 up, but the second half Bathgate came back quite strong. In the first half, Richie Hutton got injured, which I think impacted us a wee bit because we had to shuffle about a little bit to accommodate that, and we missed Richie, I think, as well. He's a cracking player since he came back in. And then second half, Bathgate just got the momentum, and we kind of struggled to get back into the game after that. Late on, we did have a few set pieces, but just couldn't quite get the killer chance to try and equalise or get the win. But listen, long season, try not to get too high when we win and try not to get too low when we lose, but still confident we'll kick on again next week.
Because I think a lot of it's to do with the momentum. You know, we had that whole... How many cancellations did we have? I mean, surely that's must be a record for the amount of cancellations we just didn't have.
Literally a full month.
Was it a full month?
Game, so 27th of December against Lancarty was our last game, and then we had 1 postponed because of ice and 2 postponed because of the rain and waterlogged pitches for away fixtures. The frustrating thing is we're sitting at home with a great facility and you can't get the games on there because it was away fixtures, but good to get them back out there, and we've got a couple of home games to come up now, so looking forward to those.
Good bounce back, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How did your 2011s get on at the weekend?
Yeah, good. Well, we're still in between leagues, so we had just a wee friendly. We were playing Linlithgow Rose, so we won 6-3. It was a good performance. We were trialling out two new keepers, so we gave them a half each. So it was good to kind of give them a chance and try out some new formations and stuff. So that was good for us. Well, dare I ask, how did your weekend go in the Scottish Cup with the 2009s, Jared?
No comment. We played Knightswood in the quarter-finals and we got put out, unfortunately. We were 2-0 up after 177 seconds. Conceded right on the stroke of half time. Conceded with 10 minutes to go. Gave away a penalty in the last 5, which our keeper saved. Went to penalties and they scored more than we did, so we got put out. So really, obviously disappointed. Would have loved to have went back to back. Would have loved to have another day in a stadium with a crowd and all that for us and the boys, but it just wasn't to be on Saturday for us.
Well, I mean, that's part of football, I guess. You've got to have these massive highs like you had last year.
Yeah.
You're going to have those massive lows. It's part of the roller coaster journey, I guess.
Definitely. It was just a really horrible way to lose. You know, you were on such a high at the start of the game, and then by the end of it you're down, you're out, having to console boys who have missed penalties and tried to get the team up, because we've got a regional cup semi-final on Saturday away to Musselburgh, so obviously there's no too much time for moping about in that. So
you've at least got that to kind of look forward to, I guess. But
yeah,
I get, but penalties are a cruel. It's luck of the draw. It's literally a lottery. It could be 50-50. It's either way.
Yeah, because obviously I don't want to name names, but first player that missed the penalty was the keeper that saved it. So the second boy that took the penalty went, right, this keeper's obviously a wee bit good, I'm going to have to really try and wrap it into the corner, and his shots went wide. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, when you're taking penalties, you don't want to rely on the lottery. You do just want to go, I'm sticking it in a corner and it has to be there. And unfortunately, if you miss, and
that's your Donald Duck.
So it was a hard one, but we got fed after the game, so solid in the end.
Good.
A couple of pizzas and a donut and that. So always loved the pre-match. It was a Domino's too, so.
No, I'm still a Pizza
Hut.
Was
it? It was blue and red boxes, Pizza Hut, aye.
No, blue and red's
Domino's.
Domino's.
Aye, right, okay. terrible. What about, so moving on a wee bit, so what about the pitching in fund?
Yes, we're proud to have been awarded funding through the Pitching In Fund in the final quarter of 2025, funding which contributed to the upgrading of our playing surfaces at the Purdue Worldwide Community Stadium, that fabulous new 3G. So combined with the incredible commitment of our volunteers, the support from the Department of Culture, Media and Support and from the SFA marked another huge step forward for the club.
Oh,
so
brilliant.
yeah, that's good. I mean, that it just shows you like why we have all these things. We're applying for grants and stuff to ensure that we've got all these playing surfaces for everybody.
Yeah, it's just what the guys behind the scenes do.
Exactly. You don't see it, so it's kind of good to kind of mention that as well. I think you've got some other news as well.
Aye, so SL Benfica and Culver are coming to Blackburn this Sunday the 15th, next Sunday the 15th of February to host a performance camp. So it's open to players born 2011 to 2016, and it's designed to challenge the players technically and tactically, exposing them to elite level coaching, not quite JT, to show the Benfica philosophy and a focused club environment.
That sounds good. And in more club news, the 2015 girls were also playing against Bathgate Thistle at the weekend. The team were up to task though and produced some real quality when we had the ball. Lots of positives to take from the game, but lots to work on as well, especially off the ball. We did score some great goals though. A captain today at the weekend was wee Calvi. Well deserved as our work rate is top drawer regardless of what she's doing, and she's becoming a really clever player with some of the advice she gives to her teammates at training and in games.
That's class, that's brilliant to hear. We need more of that.
Yeah, so do tag us on social media and stuff like that. Anything you want mentioned on the podcast, feel free to tag us on social media.
Give like birthday shout outs and that like you do at half time at a game. No, I'm kidding on, but if there is anything, just send it our way, because we can't dig across 25-30 age groups to find things, so just let us know.
Aye, make sure and tag us.
Did you see that Martin's prediction for Livingston came true from an episode ago?
For the last episode, yeah, Martin predicted that there would be a bit of a change at the front, or shall we say just a reshuffle perhaps?
Aye, reshuffle. He's still at Davy Martindale's still at the club just as sporting director. I don't know, because I thought that was Brian Rice that was the sporting director, so I don't know what's happened there, but he's moved upstairs, and Bartley's jumped 2 positions. He's went from first team coach straight to head coach or / manager, so see how he gets on.
Yeah. Well, it certainly can't really do any worse.
No, you go 24 games without a win, you need one win, win that 24 and you've done better.
Exactly. So fingers crossed for our local Premier side.
Yeah. But just before we move on and bring Alan into the podcast, we'll take a word from our sponsors.
Well, I think it's actually one of our supporters this week.
I can't read, guys.
That's all right. Now let me welcome Blackburn United Club Secretary and massive fan of the podcast, Alan Harris.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
So welcome to the podcast, Alan. So obviously it's good to have you. So for those who don't know your face round at Purdue Worldwide Stadium and know what you do behind the scenes at Blackburn, can you just tell us a wee bit about what your role is and how you've ended up with the short straw?
No worries, well I'm still figuring it out, I think. So I joined the first team this summer as club secretary, or summer past. I guess my role is to make sure that things run really smoothly on match day, so making sure refs are organised, we've got team lines, everything runs really smoothly with the opposition clubs, so liaise with other club secretaries from the East of Scotland League or cup opponents, etc. as well. And then I guess the other stuff I get involved involved in behind the scenes is maybe on some of the transfer dealings, so player registrations, transfers, loan deals in and out, and then come summer, that's quite a big job when you're re-registering players for the next year, etc. And then working as part of the committee team as well. We've got a really good dedicated group of volunteers on the committee, and trying to play my part in that beyond just the kind of the day job, if you like, of club secretary, to help out there and help to grow the club and get a bit of a sustainable model going.
Oh, fantastic, man. That's class.
So, I mean, club secretary can mean a lot of things depending on the club. What does kind of actually mean for you for the senior team? You spoke about the register and transfers and stuff, but what about the daily stuff? I mean, how much does it kind of affect your actual daily job?
It's a great question, because you're right, it's all about people and the people that you know and work with, and you kind of find your niche, I think. And the big thing I started off getting involved in, I've been involved at Blackburn for a number of years. My sons have both played here on and off over the years as well. I was club secretary with our 2005 age group team for a number of years as well, and then kind of, as often tends to happen, just worked my way up with the boys as they were progressing through the age groups as well. Spent a couple of years, or 3 years I think maybe, at the under-20s, supporting the under-20s as club secretary, and then moved into the first team role in the summer there. And I think, you're right, through the week there's quite a lot of phone calls back and forward about players and injuries and situations, and I try to be, I think, a bit of a sounding board for the management team and the committee. I would say my role, probably more than most of the guys, is kind of between the football side of things and the club side of things. So some of the committees maybe more on the committee side, others are more on the football side, and I try and maybe play a bit of that bridge role between the two so that we can keep things nice and connected. And I guess because I've been so involved with the 20s, along with people in the committee like Brian Meehan and like Andy himself, who used to be the 20s manager, we're trying to also get that kind of pathway working really well through the club, and making sure we've got a really good eye on the talent that's in the younger age groups in the community club in the 20s, so that we've got an eye on the future for the club as well.
No, that's good. That's good. And what would a busy week look like for you in that role? So it's probably during summer, I'd imagine, with all the transfers. And
some of this summer past was probably a bit unusual, because I was learning how things work, getting to know the other club secretaries. You do league meetings, committee meetings. We're trying to get sponsorship established. We were a new committee in the summer, so that was probably quite an unusual one, but it was quite a busy few weeks in the build up to the new season, because you just want to make sure you've got a really good platform for the team, so that the players and the management team don't need to worry about anything. They just turn up, they train well, they play well, and go home at night. So we try and make sure we take all that heat off them. But I guess a busy week would be, even the last few weeks you've seen a bit of cancellations, so organising pitch inspections, liaising with the other club secretaries. I try and kind of block that into parts of the evening, because otherwise you'd end up doing wee piecemeal things. So I've got a normal job, I've got a family and commitments at home as well, so you try and kind of fit things in round about that. But I do it because I enjoy it. I love football, I love being part of the setup at Blackburn. It's a great group of people, loads of brilliant young kids coming through in both the boys and girls sides of the club, and a really, really talented 20s team, and increasingly I think the squad and the kind of shape of the first team's getting better and better as well. It's just really good to be part of. I'm a football fan, and it's nice to be involved and be able to play a wee part in it.
No, brilliant.
Oh, good.
Very good.
Now, a club secretary, I've been offered that role and I've declined it.
Quite right, well done.
Because I was always told it's a mental role, like you're so busy. So what part of that job do people not see that takes the most time?
There was I spoke to the East of Scotland League secretary just about a week or two after I'd started in the role, because the registrations work in the summer is pretty intense, and it takes quite a while during the summer because it's so busy for them all to be processed by the SFA. So you're kind of managing all that, making sure everything's ready for match day. And he gave me a bit of advice, which was to remember that a club secretary can't win a game, but but you can lose a game because if you don't get your team line right, if you put somebody in that's suspended or shouldn't be eligible, you'll have seen that with Stranraer just last week in the cup. They had to step out after a registration error with a goalkeeper. Those things are administrative, but they can lose you a match or get you kicked out of a tournament. So that was, coming into the role, probably my biggest anxiety, was to make sure I got that spot on, everything inside out, so that the guys don't have to worry about it. So that's, I would say, the biggest thing is you can't win a game, but you can definitely lose one. So yeah, try and keep everything watertight. So I think week to week, that's the biggest thing, making sure you've got your team lines right, you've checked your suspensions, everybody's ready to play, you've done the liaison, so that you just turn up on match day and it's nice and stress-free.
Yeah. And moving more into a wee bit into the sort of club itself, like, what does Blackburn mean to you personally?
So my eldest son, so Ethan, joined, it used to be a Bathgate Thistle team that moved across to Blackburn, mainly because of the setup, the potential that they could see in the club. So we moved that young team way back then, years and years ago.
Blues,
Bathgate Thistle Blues became Blackburn Blacks way back then. And Scott Wallace was the coach at that time, and his wife Sharon was the secretary. And I've been kind of in and around Blackburn since about then. At round about the same time, my younger son was playing for Brian Smiley's 2007 side. So they had different journeys, but for a period, both of them have been at Blackburn together as well. And then last year they both played together in the 20s. There's 2 years between them, but Ethan and Elliot both played in the 20s team that won the East of Scotland Knockout Cup last year. So that was a pretty proud moment. It was really nice seeing them, not every week, but the odd time playing together in the same park, which was quite nice for me. And I don't know what it says about me, but since I took on this role, they both left Blackburn. So Ethan to focus on his high rocks training, which he's loving and doing brilliantly, and Elliot is just along the road here at Whitburn, we'll say quietly, under 20s, and enjoying his football there. But listen, Blackburn for me has just been a brilliant community club. I can see the work that goes on to try and make things better for the kids and the adults and the volunteers that work there. And if you imagine the club not being there and think about the impact that would have on this community, I think that reminds you of how important it is. It's a focal point for the village and a really, really big part of the community here.
No, 100%. Mate, that's one of the things like I always see, like, going through Blackburn through the years, like, whether you're just passing by, you're at a game or whatever, you realise it's one of the only things, or that's being nice, it's the only thing it's got. You know what I mean? It's a good thing for people in this village to have.
If you see all the kids hanging about on match days and they're running about with their scooters and in to watch the wee ultras that turned up for the games, it's a really important part of the village. And I think as well, when you look at clubs like this, there's bigger teams, in inverted commas, come to our facilities and they're so blown away by it. Yeah. You can see them coming in if they haven't been for a while or it's their first time visiting the club. They're so jealous of the facilities that we've got here. So I think that's something that everybody that's involved and has been involved in building that over the years should be really proud of.
Yeah. No, I mean, just yesterday I was tasked with, we were the last game on yesterday, so I was tasked with locking up, and I had to literally shout at these 2 young boys who were still playing on the pitch after, like, all the teams are away. I'm locking up and I'm going, guys, please, I need to go. And they asked me, like, so when does this open back up again? And I'm like, what age group are you guys? Right, let's get you in a team here. You know what I mean? And it is, it's that's they go there because it's a safe place for them and they enjoy playing there. And it does show you, like, you know, the effect it does have on the community.
And it's generational as well. If you look at, like, so Angie Campbell in the community club committee, Danny plays for the first team. Danny's wee boy now is starting to play with the young Pandas teams, and
I didn't know that.
You start to see that, like, you'll kick about with the kids and you start to see that coming all the way through, and that's, like, for those families and people that have been part of Blackburn, that's pretty special. And I'm a visitor to Blackburn. I'm from Ayrshire originally and a bit of an incomer, but it's you can feel the community like vibe that's about.
I mean, you mentioned Angie and that there, but who are the kind of cogs that you would see behind the scenes that nobody else kind of realises that actually make the community club work?
There's on the community club side, I don't know that it's necessarily, I hope they're not unsung, because these are people that put in an awful lot of work. So Chris Boyle, as club secretary, does a lot of work with me to link up between the community club side and the side here. Angie and Kerry do a lot of work behind the scenes, but also even just things like running kitchen and match day for the youth clubs. And if those sorts of things don't happen, everything just is a little bit less impactful on the day. On the senior committee side, you've got folks, and I know Brian Meakin's been on the podcast before, the amount of work that Brian does with the kit and again making sure the smooth running of the club behind the scenes, and he's the boys' biggest fan and biggest cheerleader. He's such a good guy to have about the place. The management team, those people in the committee like John Rankin and Kevin Dennis, they're there every game. They'll help on the gate, they'll run the 50-50 draw for us, they're always at the games home and away. Obviously the work that Trevor's put in coming in, Trevor Longhurst is club president now. All these guys and women put in so much effort, and it's mostly volunteer work. It's really, really long hours, and on top quite often the really busy day jobs that they've all got as well. And everybody just cares about the same thing, which is trying to move the club forward.
Well, definitely we all share the same vision, no matter what team you're involved with. You just want the best for Blackburn, in my opinion.
Definitely.
So obviously you spoke a wee bit about things maybe going wrong on a match day, of administrative issues and that. So what when things do go wrong, who are the usual culprits? Not who, but what are the usual things that can go wrong, and how do you stay sort of calm if you have to deal with those things?
It's one of those things that what I try and remember is you can only do what you can do. So if something goes wrong that's outside of your hands, you just need to go with it and make the most of it. We've got a really supportive management team, so I've worked with Andy Meakin at the 20s and the seniors now, so between us we know kind of how things work, and if anything, for example, if a registration hasn't gone through in time, the player can't be registered, there's nothing you can do about it, so you go to plan B, which is like you would if you had an injury or something like that to deal with. But we're not doing brain surgery, it's a hobby. The guys obviously are doing it as a kind of semi-professional footballers, and they take it super seriously, but it's meant to be good fun, and I think that's the thing to remember as well. If it gets too serious and we're not enjoying it, then something's gone wrong, so I try and kind of think about it that way.
That's okay. So you talked about a proud moment last year where your sons winning that, or playing together. Have you got a proudest moment as a club secretary? Not maybe perhaps as Blackburn United, but as any of your previous roles as a club secretary?
So it's early doors, obviously. Just now, we've hopefully still got some success to come this season with the first team. But even in pre-season, we went across to Hillfield Swifts and won the friendly tournament over there, and the boys were absolutely delighted. Even in a friendly tournament, it's nice to pick up a wee bit of silverware, so that was lovely as well. But over the years, with the age groups that I've been either involved with as a parent or as a secretary, they've won countless leagues, county cups, league cups. Our 20s team didn't win silverware until last season, but were really close, finishing second and third 2 seasons in a row, and at the moment we're sitting right up there in contention for the league with Smiley's team as well. So every time teams I've been involved with are winning trophies, tournaments, I'm absolutely delighted and really proud of them. I don't think there's necessarily one that stands out. They've had a couple of trebles at our 2005 teams, which were pretty special for the boys. But my favourite moment was we had the opportunity when we were part of the EU before Brexit. Trevor actually got through Erasmus, which is an EU programme where you can exchange learning across European countries. We got to take our 2005 team to Gozo in Malta, and that was basically accommodation, food, transport, flights and everything, and local facilities organised, and the boys went out basically for a 2-week training camp as a kind of cultural exchange. They played local teams, they did a bit of learning over there and had a brilliant time, did some tours and that sort of thing. So taking 20, 16-year-olds, I think they were at the time, to another part of the world that most of them will have either never been to or never will be to again, was just amazing. And they were a great bunch, that group, and a lot of the boys are still in and around football, either with our team or others, and it's really nice to see them doing so well. So that was a pretty special couple of weeks.
Brilliant. And what would you say is one of the hardest decisions you've had to make in your role?
I don't know there's been hard decisions. I think everything's been very amicable. Like, there's not been any like friction or drama between boardroom and management team, all that sort of thing. I think everybody's been super supportive of each other. So I don't think there's been any big decisions. I think sometimes as a secretary it's knowing when to step up and when to keep quiet, because it's not my role to run first team or football business. That's for Andy and Scott and the coaching team to run. But there may be times when I'm thinking more about kind of the human dynamic, and because I know a lot of the boys pretty well, maybe kind of sharing some of my thoughts on how things are going. And Andy's brilliant, he'll always listen and take advice and that sort of thing. Final decisions always theirs, but I think there are times when you just step back and let the guys get on with it, and other times it's important probably to speak up and play your part as well.
Definitely.
And you've spoken about this, but how would you kind of balance things properly, in terms of your process, compliance, deadlines, with kind of the realities of volunteer football? Like you say, you've got your day job. When do you switch off kind of at 5 o'clock? Like, or are you on the go?
I would say, like, you're thinking about football. Like, even if you're a football fan, you're quite often thinking about football through the day. So wee things will crop up. Right, must remember to do that tonight or whatever. But I think in terms of deadlines, there's nothing that's not manageable. It's not like it starts to impact your life or your work in a way that's not fun still. So as I say, it's like having a hobby at night. So I don't play golf, and I don't do particularly have any other big time consuming hobbies. So this is it for me. That's what I enjoy doing. But my day job, I don't really get to switch off from that. I'm always thinking about that. And same thing for the football. That's always kind of on your mind. So you're just trying to balance that. And like with anything, you need a healthy balance across time with your family, time with your hobbies, and time with your job, and they're all important in their own ways. And there are times when maybe one takes over a wee bit and you just need to remind yourself to balance it back out, but it's never got to the point where it's like too stressy or anything like that so far anyway. But yeah, it's been pretty enjoyable. And people are always there to help. So people in the league, I think sometimes folks can maybe just try and get on with things themselves and fix stuff, but there's always people there to help that have been doing the role. So Paul Meakin, that was my predecessor, did it for years and years, so he knows the secretary role inside out. So if I ever need any advice, I can speak to Paul, can speak to the guys in the league board, and they're always happy to help. And everybody knows we're all volunteers trying to get things done the best we can.
I suppose that's a good progression that you've had, going from, like you say, the 2005s all the way up to the 20s and that. Do you think, or have you seen a change in kind of the technology that's been used, especially like, obviously I think when you started, was WhatsApp still a thing, or were you all just text messages, or do you think this has like evolved the game, made it easier for you? Yeah,
I think that we're obviously, like, Comet's been the biggest shift in technology. Yeah. Like even when I was involved with the teams when they're younger, you still had the wee apps like Spawned or Team App and things like that to use. WhatsApp groups or text groups were quite common. But with the new system on Comet, I think I was quite lucky. I missed the introduction season, which was a season and a half ago, and they ran a bit of a hybrid last season. So this season I had to learn pretty quickly, don't get me wrong, but I think for me it stops certainly as easily. You can't really easily bring in a suspended player, for example, because they should be greyed out if the work behind the scenes been done properly. It maybe throws up things where if the registration hasn't come through, they're not on your list. In the old days, that would just have been writing their name on a paper team sheet, which obviously you'd no checks and balances. So it does make it a bit easier. I know the referees quite like it because they get everything in their app. They write out their team line with half an hour to go before kick-off, and they're good to go. So I think it is a little better and slicker than it was, but like anything like that, just a few teething issues, and you hear the grumbles about Comet, but it's a pretty good system considering what what you're dealing with. So I find it works pretty well for me.
Definitely. And what would you want people to know more about the sort of admin side in football?
I would like them to probably know less, because I think a good secretary, I think, is there to make it as invisible as possible. Right. So if it's not getting talked about, that's brilliant. So I think I'm not worried about people worrying about how much work goes in behind the scenes or how much I need to do. I do it because I enjoy it and I want the guys to have a good experience. But I think, Mark, you touched on it earlier on when it says like every secretary role is very different. There are secretaries that are like the lifeblood of the club and run everything. There are secretaries that literally might just do team lines and referees and don't touch anything else, and maybe mine somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I think the secretary role, in inverted commas, is different for every person. But I think as long as you've got a committee where everybody kind of knows their job, like if I didn't turn up on match day, what would happen and who would do certain things. But that's also true for whoever run the gates or the kitchen and that sort of thing. So everybody's got their wee role to play.
Good. So in terms of leadership and relationships inside a club, how do you build good relationships with the likes of the manager and coaching staff? Do you have a different relationship with the coaches than compared to the players?
I think I knew the 20s players really, really well because I'd been with them the whole way through. I think probably with the first team, they were more of an established group when I came in, so I've got to know them a lot better this season. But with the coaching team, I've worked with both Andy Meakin and Scott Gallagher, the assistant manager, in previous lives. I used to know Scott actually used to coach Ethan when he used to play for Hearts youth team when he was about 10, something like that. So I knew Scott a bit before he joined as well, which was good. So those guys I know well. We talk almost every day on the WhatsApp chats or certainly in training nights and things like that. Players I don't maybe need to deal with as much unless something's happening, like a registration thing or a transfer in or out. But yeah, I'm around the club a lot. I know the guys pretty well and I'm there to help them if there's anything they need as well. And I also do the social media on match days for the first team, and the boys love to see the wee write-ups on their goals or saves. If you're Beansy, he'll ask me to make sure I've got a good write-up on his clean sheet so that it helps him when he's out with the ladies on a Friday night or whatever. But listen, I think that for me is making sure it feels like as professional and slick an experience as it possibly can. So we won't get there, we don't have the funding and the resource, but you're trying to make it feel as close as you can to a Premier League team, all the match day kit and everything that Brian does on match day, the social media kind of build up to games and the live match updates. That for me is about making it feel as special as we can for those guys so that they enjoy their time at the club.
Yeah. Definitely. And what's your sort of approach when you have to say no to somebody at the club?
I think I'm pretty diplomatic, so I don't think there's anything that we've had that's like a really difficult conversation. And as I've said earlier, there's just sometimes things can't happen. It's not because anybody's trying to be difficult. We might just not have time or things can't happen. And sometimes, obviously, things can get a bit tense because it's football and everybody wants to win. But I think it's just about helping people see both sides of the conversation. So I don't know, maybe like there's a player that's unhappy at the club and wants to speak to different people and get different perspectives. I would always try and see their side of things, and I think having had sons that have been involved in the game since they were small, kind of all the way up through the age groups, I know their frustrations, I know why they're maybe getting upset or where they want to play more or maybe where a relationship's broken down. But a lot of the time it's just about being open, transparent. Good communication is really, really important, and if you don't get that stuff right, it's quite hard. You can be a brilliant manager technically or tactically, you can be a brilliant club set up, but if you don't have communication right between committee, coaching staff and players, that's when things can fall down because people make up their own reality.
Yeah. So if you could fix one thing in grassroots or kind of semi-professional football administration, what would it be?
Oh, on the administration side, it's really, really hard because I think everybody's trying their best. I think there's a bit of a one-size-fits-all. So the SFA are trying to administer from the top of the Premier League all the way down to the bottom league in East of Scotland and West of Scotland and Highland League and Borders and Fife, etc. So I think it's really hard for them to get the sweet spot. So sometimes there are things that we've got to do that feel like overkill for the level we're playing at. but then other times it's maybe undercooked, so you're trying to get that balance right. But when we were involved in the Scottish Cup this year, for example, the administration racks up a huge amount, because the folks that are running it, and then a couple of rounds later, are going to be organising the Rangers and Celtic ties and Hearts and Hibs ties, and it becomes quite serious quite quickly at that level. So, but I would say things like some of the registration processes, things like training compensation fees, those processes like that, they're pretty hardcore for what's basically kind of semi-professional or lower league football. So yeah, they could definitely streamline and maybe have a bit of a kind of tiered view of how you do things. Yeah.
So dive a wee bit more into yourself, like moving away from the club a wee bit.
Yeah.
So you started your career at Nat West, moved on to WM Grant and Sons, and then moved on to Heineken. So what I wanted to ask was, like, the roles that you've had in those workplaces, have they all sort of like tied in as the same like profession like you've had the whole time, or has it just been a new role at a different workplace as you've moved on?
Yeah, so I started in the bank. It was Royal Bank of Scotland, which became NatWest Group a few years ago. I started there when I was just turning 20 and I was an auditor when I first started in the bank, because it was a job and I just wanted to get into work, and I knew quite quickly I wasn't meant to be an auditor. It wasn't my bag, but I enjoyed writing, I enjoyed communications, and that's what I kind of fell into in the bank quite early on. So after that, I was 23 and a half years working with RBS NatWest in communication roles the whole way through, so internal communications, and then when I moved into William Grant's, I was also responsible for external communications, so media and some of the external comms work that we do around PR and that sort of thing as well, and really enjoyed that. And I wanted to, after so long in financial services, just try something different, because it was at that stage, a bit like a footballer might be, if you get to that stage in your career, you either just see it out at the bank or you go and try something else. So I moved into William Grant and Sons, which is a spirits company based along the road in Bells Hill, and they've got brands like Glenfiddich and Hendricks and Sailor Jerry, Drambuie, so lots of cool spirits brands, and absolutely loved my time there. 3 years working for that company, family-owned business as well, and then made the move to Heineken in December. Again, lots of amazing brands like Cruz Campo, Moretti, Strongbow, Old Mout, etc.
Do you get free cases of beer?
We do get a little allowance each quarter, so yeah, not a car boot full, but certainly you get to sample the products, and a brilliant bar in the office as well. So there's a bar in the new office in St Andrews Square that you can invite some guests into, which is pretty special as well. So I've kind of meandered through different industries now, slightly different roles, but mostly with a communications focus.
And do you do any graphic design work there?
A little bit. I'm a bit more like an enthusiastic amateur on the graphic design, so I've done a bit of work in social media and that sort of thing. So yeah, I quite enjoy dabbling, but mostly it's writing, events, working with the leadership team, press releases, internal announcements, that sort of thing that I'm working on.
You're not using Canva then, no?
We use Canva a little bit. I use it actually more for the club than I do in work, but there's people in the team way more talented at work at that than me, but yeah, for the club I quite enjoy a wee dabble in making things look as professional as we can.
And without saying that it's because of getting free beers, what attracted you to move to Heineken?
So Heineken's a big old company as well. They've got a pretty huge global workforce, but they've got their UK headquarters in Edinburgh. So it's really nice that they've got that UK team and a really big presence here, but you're part of a global business, obviously, with the team in Amsterdam, but across the world as well. And they're brands that are known by pretty much everybody. And it's a fun industry to be in. So they've got some brilliant partnerships and sponsorships and sports, Formula 1 and some of the football sponsorship they've had. The darts over Christmas, if you're watching that, is sponsored by Foster's, so that was front and centre. That's one of our brands at Heineken as well. So they just reach into so many areas, but the two big things are the culture, some really good people that I spoke to when I was going across there, and the brands. And yeah, it's been a fun couple of months since I joined there in December.
So how much do you find your professional skill set kind of bleeding over into the kind of football club life?
There are little bits, like the bits of diplomacy and stakeholder management and all those things, without getting too too technical in that. But I think actually the thing that's helped here more, working with Blackburn, is just having come up through it with the boys since they were 3 and 4. I love football. I've loved watching them grow, and I've loved watching all their peers grow. And for me, I think that was the biggest learning thing. So probably less of my work job and more of my job as dad and secretary of the 2005s that's kind of helped me get to here. But yeah, like, listen, the odd thing, if there's wee tougher moments or you're trying to run things a little bit more like a business on the club side, it does definitely help to have a wee bit of that business knowledge and understand how we run things. And yeah, really brilliant committee now trying to move things in the right direction. Yeah,
definitely. And obviously with communication, like the sort of timing and tone of the way you're speaking to people is everything. So how do you think clubs can communicate better with the supporters and the community?
I think it's quite easy to be quite emotional when you're communicating. So either in social media you'll see stuff that you don't like, and it's quite easy to bite and react, and you'll see quite often like lower league clubs get maybe into wee Twitter spats and things like that. So I think it's always quite important, and it's like sometimes you'll have a wee bit of fun and you'll maybe even see me, there'll be a wee kind of mini dig here and there because it's just a little bit of the kind of football banter. But I think it's really important to kind of try and just rise above any of that stuff and think about the big picture. I mentioned earlier on about not getting too down when things are going badly and not getting too carried away when they're going well. You try and keep that steady way of working. But I think in terms of the tone and opportunities for clubs to improve, I think it's just try and be out there. Like, we've spent a lot of time building up our social media presence. I get a load of help from Ian McGinty, who's been involved with the club for years as well, and Ian and I work the social media channels between us, and he's a huge help to me and gives me a lot of advice on the club and the history. He keeps all the stats, he knows everything about the history of the club, which is super helpful for me being kind of quite new, certainly with the first team picture. But just get out there, and that's how you build your brand. That's how a lot of players, when they look at, I wonder if I want to join Blackburn, they'll look at the way the club's set up and how they get talked about and how they run. So I would like to think we kind of punch above our weight in terms of how we appear to the outside world, and that's what I would say is, yeah, just get out there and talk.
Definitely.
So when a club has a kind of sticky situation, a discipline, cancellations, disputes, what's the best comms approach then?
I think
tell all, or
quite often the best approach is to do nothing, and it's really hard to stay quiet on things because your instinct is to go and talk about it all the time. And that's the same in the line of work that I do in business as well. It's quite easy to go out and be defensive or over explain things. Quite often, if there's a wee like mini crisis or something like that, it'll pass and it'll get to a good place. But there are times when you also need to listen. So I remember at the start of the season, we had set our pricing for gates for the start of the season, entry fees and things like that. There's a wee bit of noise from people in the community, and it's quite important. We sat down and listened to them, and we set up some membership levels where you could be a member of the club and get involved. We listened to feedback from the community about entry fees, and what you're trying to balance is you're trying to run a club and you've got expenses. You need to pay for referees and the food that goes in the kitchen and player wages and things like that. So it's not free, it's not a charity in the first team side. So you do need to kind of make some cash to be able to invest back in the team. We're not sitting trying to build a big surplus, but you do need to be able to keep things in the black. So you're trying to balance obviously fairness and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think don't get carried away with it, don't get emotional about it, don't get defensive, but listen, take a view and then decide what you're going to do about it.
No, 100%. And if Blackburn United had a communication playbook, what would the top 3 rules for that be?
Ian and I have probably got kind of unwritten rules, but I think the biggest one is consistency. So people expect to see things at a certain time. So during the week, what game's coming up next? On the weekend, who's the team line-up? When's kick-off starting? So I think if you're just nice and consistent, then people know what to expect and they get used to what they get from you. So I think that's number one. To trying to have a little bit of personality, because you're talking on behalf of the club and you want it to be a bit of fun as well, so we try and make that feel, as I say, really professional, but of a wee bit of personality as well. And then the third is to try and make sure it feels as slick as it can, so it's not like a personal email account. It's not Alan Harris talking to the world. It's Blackburn United Football Club. Really important that you're playing a wee part in the history of the club. And when I move on or go on to do something else and somebody comes into this role in the future, you want to leave it in a bit of a better place than you found it. So always remember, it's not about you trying to be a maverick and do your own thing. It's about being a custodian of the club for the time that you're working with them.
Aye. It might be an idea perhaps to create some kind of brand guidelines for Blackburn, a kind of ethos of here's all the logos, here's what we stand for, here's our voice, as a kind of...
It's a great point, and listen, we're so early doors with the new committee, and the way that the first team's working this season is a kind of work in progress, but the club is lots of clubs within a club, I'd say. You've got the community club in the first team, but also within the community club you've got all the different age groups and tiers and all the community work that we do outside as well. So I think it's a great point, like being able to maybe look at that whole picture again and looking at how we speak with those different voices when we're consistent and when we're a bit different, because obviously we've got quite different roles to play in what we do. But yeah, a great point, and exactly as you would do in business, making sure you show up consistently for people.
So our researchers also did a wee bit of the extra research and discovered that you've got a certificate in Scotch whisky. Could you care to explain that? How did that come about? Is this part of when you were working with Billy Sundance?
So when I went to William Grant's, we had there was a leap year. I think the first year I joined was a leap year, and as a team, our team decided to use the extra day that we got in the year to do some learning. So I went and did an online certificate in Scotch whisky, which just helps you understand the process of distilling and maturing whisky spirits. Fascinating. I work pretty closely. There's actually the master blender for Glenfiddich, I'm sure you won't mind me mentioning, is a chap called Brian Kinsman, whose son also used to play for Blackburn United, Rothney, played along with my eldest son Ethan. So I actually knew Brian through football before I knew him through work. That's right. Rothney's the no-nonsense centre half, great lad, very quiet off the pitch, not so quiet on the pitch, but Brian's the nicest guy you'll meet. Brian is one of the rock stars of the whisky industry. He's the name on the front of the Glenfiddich bottle. So yeah, just starting to understand their world a bit more and coming new into an industry, just getting to know it a bit better. And I wasn't really a whisky drinker before I went in there, but I've certainly built a good appreciation of it coming out, and got a good few bottles in the house. So
you've built a few collections.
I've got a good shelf in the dining room now, for sure. Yeah.
And can we maybe get like a Blackburn United like whisky made up with your sort of experience?
Well, I think we could do that with the peat moss. We could get some barrels aged in peat moss over the back.
Could be a wee investment opportunity for us for the future, but no.
Have a sportsman's dinner and it's like Blackburn wine on the table and all that whisky.
Exactly. But no, it's an amazing industry, and yeah, spent a bit of time up at the distilleries and stuff like that, but it's been really good fun.
Oh, superb. And if someone says that I don't like whisky, what are you telling them?
I think it's not for everybody, right? So if you don't like it, you don't like it, and there's no point in trying to force somebody to like a drink they don't like. But I would say there's different ways, so many different ways to drink it. It can be quite an intimidating drink at first to get to know. You go to a bar and there's 100 different choices. You don't know what to ask for. You don't know how to ask for it, but ask for it however you like it. So people say don't drink a good single malt with Coke. If you want it with Coke, you go for it. If you want it with ice, go for it. If you want it with water, go for it. But you'll find a whiskey that you probably like more than you thought, and then you'll find a way of drinking it that you really enjoyed. And when I started drinking whiskey, it was just to really enjoy having a small dram and just sitting with it for a while. And I like the smell almost as much, if not more, than the taste, because I think my dad was a woodwork teacher at school, techie teacher, and I think there's a kind of nostalgic, the waft of the wood, because I think it's between 70 and 80% of the flavour of the whisky comes from the barrels. So that plays a really big part and a big influence on the taste and the smell. But there's no such thing as a whisky. There's all sorts of different types, peated or smoky whiskies, blended whiskies, single malts, and all of them have got different characters, flavours.
What would you recommend as a wee starter whisky for someone who's unsure?
So two good options that are like not wildly expensive but really good whiskies. The Glenfiddich 15-year-old that Brian is master blender for. Brian would say himself that's the sweet spot. Like, it's probably the best balance of quality and value. Quite easy to pick up in the supermarket. And the other one that I got to know quite well working at William Grant & Sons was the Balvenie Caribbean cask. It's not as easy to get your hands on, but you can get it online. I think Waitrose do it as well, and it's been matured in a rum cask or finished in a rum cask for the last period of its maturation, so that makes it a wee bit sweeter. And the 15-year-old Glenfiddich is matured in a Solera vat, which basically never is emptied, and they just keep topping it up, and that gives it this really kind of like mature, delicious taste as well. So those two are good starter ones. Solid. But yeah, don't have 15 of them down the Ballincreef. It's a one or two in the living room with the fire on or whatever. That's the way to enjoy it.
I'll remember that the next time I'm at the Bally then.
Aye, I'll need to nip next door actually and see what Neil's got in his cupboard. He's got a fair few in there. I'm sure he won't mind one or two going missing.
Exactly.
No, I'm a Highland Park. I like a Highland Park, or a Lafroig.
Into the peated whiskies as well. Yeah. They are the peated ones. If you started out with them, that's what puts a lot of people off, maybe because they're quite strong. But you just kind of get used to it, and you like what you like. The Bruich Laddie's nice if you like a peated whisky as well. I don't know if you've tried them, but they're good ones too.
Aye. No, I don't drink beer or anything like that, but I do enjoy a whisky.
Good, yeah, they're nice.
Anyway, back to the football. What do you want to see in Blackburn United's senior setup in the kind of next 2 to 3 years?
So I think on the park we're really pushing towards getting a playing squad that's really competitive and is capable of progressing into the first division, and then ultimately, let's see, but Lowland League would be amazing in the coming years as well. Really big job. There's lots of clubs in similar positions as we're in that are trying to push for the same thing. Big focus this year on pushing for promotion to start with, but our job on the committee side is to do everything we can to make sure the management team can put the best possible team they can on the pitch.
Sorry mate. I was going to say, obviously it's only like one season, 1 year at a time, but you know, you're somebody who sees everything basically from behind the scenes, and you're quite involved, like, no so much on the pitch, but you're involved with that sort of team. How close do you think that could be, Lowland League? Like, if you had to say, if you had to give it a percentage, do you think?
In terms of getting to the Lowland League, or
aye,
I think Lowland League's a huge stretch because the first division is really tough. The Premier League is even tougher, and if you look at the clubs that are in there, Musselburghs and teams like that, incredibly competitive league. But if you look at what Broxburn have done, Linlithgow were down at Purdy Worldwide Community Stadium a few seasons ago. We were having wins against them, draws against them. It just shows you how quickly things can change in football if you get a bit of momentum behind you. Some of it is about investment and funding and money, of course it is, but a lot of it is about infrastructure and creating that kind of sustainable setup at the club as well. So we're trying to this season build a good foundation behind the scenes and on the park, and then the next season just keep improving. So if you get better every year, that's the challenge. I don't think it's so much saying we need to get promoted this year and then the year after. I think it's saying let's make sure we've got the infrastructure in place to get better every season, make sure we're supporting the management team and everybody behind the scenes to do that. And who knows, it's tough, and certainly don't want to put pressure on the management team or the committee, but it would be amazing to go up this year. If we don't, you dust yourself down and you go again, but everybody's really, really focused on promotion this season.
Yeah, definitely. Because like we were saying last week with the Livingston squad that was aging out, you want to have that foundation, like you say, get everything in place so that everything's filtering through, so we're not stretching to go for that one season and just to come straight back down. We want to be able to get up to the next thing and stay there.
you see, like, there's a lot of clubs that will maybe blast for a year or two. They'll invest loads in their playing squad, but if the money goes and the players go with it, you're starting from scratch again. So what we're trying to do is get a mix of experience in the squad, but also a lot of really, really good young players, and then hopefully we'll be able to keep them progressing through and establishing themselves in the first team. And as I mentioned earlier on, if we are custodians of the club for the time we're here, when we pass it on or it moves on to the next folks, they get it in a better place than they found it.
Yeah. Definitely.
But it's exciting as well, because it's good to be ambitious. If your ambition's just to keep plodding away, nobody really gets fired out and out of bed for that. So I know the boys that we've been signing recently, like Ben and Richie and boys like that, they're coming because they know that the club's ambitious, the facilities are great, we're as professional as we can be, and we want to go and kick on. So I think that's what's exciting and gets everybody fired up. Nobody wants to come in and be mediocre.
And if you, what would you like your legacy to be at the club? So if you ever leave, what do you want people to say about you, about your time at the club?
I'm honestly not that bothered about like what they think I've done or the role I've played. I just want to, hopefully not that. I want to just have played a wee part behind the scenes. I don't need the recognition or people to know what I do. I just want to know that I've done the job that I'm here to do and hopefully help to make things a bit better. And like, as I say, I think even wee simple things like the social media, the boys I know, I'm saying the boys, they're men, like some of them are not that much younger than me, but they'll go home and they'll have a wee flick through and see what's been said about them and that sort of thing. If it puts a smile on their face, if it helps them enjoy their football, that's what I'm here to do. So hopefully my legacy is making them feel like they've had a good experience playing for or coaching at or being part of Blackburn United.
No, definitely.
Good.
Definitely.
So going into some quick fire questions then. What was your favourite player growing up? Did you support any teams or?
I'm a Blackburn Rovers fan.
Rovers fan,
yes. So
don't say Chris Sutton.
Not Chris Sutton. Chris was up there that season, but
Tim Flowers.
We had a brilliant league winning team in the 1994-95 season. Favourite player that year was Alan Shearer, who was absolutely unbelievable. Sutton and Shearer were, you don't get strike partnerships like that anymore, so the two of them could both do everything. So one could be the provider, one the finisher. They could swap and be equally comfortable, brilliant with their feet, brilliant in the air. But they had this like a brilliant 4-4-2, old fashioned you would say now, line up, and it was just superb. Tim Flowers, as you mentioned, Mark, and Colin Henry. There was quite a Scottish contingent. Kevin Gallagher, Kenny Dalglish obviously is the manager, so that's why I started to support them. So Alan Shearer probably, and then with a few favourites like Morton Gams Pedersen and Tugai and guys like that over the years, but probably Alan Shearer. Tugai was 1.3 million. Blackburn played for him, and he's probably one of the most talented players they ever had. He was just superb to watch. He used to smoke at half time and stroll back out and then rattle one in the top corner. He was a great player.
Brilliant. And what's the best player you've ever seen live?
I went to see so Ethan would have been 5, in fact maybe even 3. We took him to see Rangers play AC Milan at Ibrox, and Pirlo, Ronaldinho, Beckham, Maldini were all in the park at the same time, and I loved Pirlo. He's one of my favourite players to watch. And Maldini, when Milan were at their absolute peak, remember Maldini, Costa Curta, Rijkaard, Hullet, Van Basten, that team. So probably Maldini and Pirlo were two of my favourite players ever, but they were, that was quite a special team to watch as well. So probably those two. I saw Messi actually as well. My younger son Elliot was the mascot at Celtic Barcelona, and he stood in front of Suarez in the lineup, and we watched Messi, and we had Neymar in that team as well. So that was a good night to watch as well. That's the night that Elliot became a Celtic fan as well. I think got blown away by the noise coming out onto the stadium.
Rangers after that game, the Rangers Milan one?
Ethan, no, he was wanting Milan to win. He's a Jambo, Ethan, so he's none of the old firm for him.
What would you reckon have been the best player that you've kind of worked alongside or coached or helped as part of a team that you've went, he's a
It's a good question. There's been lots of really talented guys, but I would say actually some of the best players that I've seen were ones that I didn't work with, but were part of Elliot's team with Smiley with the 2007s. Those boys that have from that team that have gone on to play for Scotland. So in the 2008s, who were kind of joined quite closely with the 2007s, there was Xander McAllister, Zach Tominey was a striker alongside Elliot that's played for Motherwell. He's represented Scotland at different age groups. Dean Cleland was at Hibs and is on loan at Stranraer at the moment and was a cracking wee player as well. I used to give Elliot a really hard time when he was losing his game time for some of these boys, and they're playing for Scotland now, but he's played with some cracking players. And then I'm trying to think from either the 2005 side, because a lot of them are still really early in their football journeys. They are 19, 20 years old, some of them. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anybody particularly stood out from the ones in that group that have maybe gone on beyond Blackburn. But the big thing I say about football is it doesn't matter who you're playing for, it's for enjoyment. And if you're loving your football and really loving what you're doing, and we just had a great bunch of boys in both those age groups, and yeah, I've really enjoyed watching them grow up and mature and go on to do whatever they're doing. We've had boys like Ethan used to play against Michael Beagley for Broxburn, and then Michael went on to play pro youth. He was at Dunfermline, he got a senior appearance for Dunfermline, went to Gallifreydine, and now Michael's back playing with us. Super talented player, he'll do really well for Blackburn. It's just really nice to be part of these boys' football journey.
Clearly you don't remember my stints with Livy Lions 05 and Linlithgow 05s and that.
Stonyburn at right back.
Do you remember that one?
I remember it. You were in the wrong end of a big scoreline that day.
I was, but I always defend myself that day and say none of the goals came down my side, so I can't take the responsibility.
None of the 16 goals were your fault.
None of the 16 goals were my fault. We can get into that another time. Who is the funniest player or coach at Blackburn just now?
There's no funny coaches, that's for sure. Who's the funniest player?
Tino was a wee bit of a laugh.
Aye, he's away at the moment though. But no, they're a good bunch, the coaches as well. But the funniest player, everybody says it, but probably Beansy. He's mental, and you need to be as a goalkeeper. But I think he's a good laugh. And I think there's some of them are quite quietly good fun as well. I quite like some of the banter, but Beansy's the one that's most out there, I think.
Okay, what about the best venue that you've been to?
Probably with the 20s we played at the Cumbernauld Stadium. We played Open Goal Broomhill, so remember their wee foray into league football, which was the Andy Halliday's brother was the manager there. Andy Halliday was assistant on that day as well, and Open Goal, which has now become the Open Goal Podcast, had taken over Broomhill Football Club. In our 20s played them in a cup game, and the changing room facilities are amazing, big stadium, had a brilliant experience through there, and our boys came really close. I think did we lose 2-0 I think that day? But we had our chances. Owen Smiley, so Brian's elder boy, had a brilliant chance at the back post that just went over the bar. We had a couple of wee half chances flashing across the face, but Open Goal at that point were all the funding was going their way, and we were a wee village team from Blackburn going through and almost gave them a fright. But yeah, unlucky that day, but that was probably the most impressive setup and game that we've played.
Yeah. Who's got the best grass park in West Lothian?
Best grass park in West Lothian. We were talking about that at the weekend, because obviously Bathgate over the years were quite notorious for having a brilliant grass surface that a lot of the pro clubs used as well. West Calder probably, I think, at the moment. We played. They loaned us really kindly and generously their park for our Scottish Cup game against Darvel. We unfortunately lost. That was before Nacho Novo joined Darvel as their new manager. But we unfortunately lost that game. But really good surface, and it's in good nick no matter the weather. Some of them do succumb to the weather a wee bit, but yeah, and that's when you're reminded we're quite lucky to have our new 4G as well.
So what do you prefer, 3G or 4G, or compared to the grass?
At this level, you can't beat a really good 4G surface, because the games are on more often than not. There's lots of teams really struggling. You saw Trinent's challenges over the last few weeks where they couldn't get that game on against Inverness in the Cup, and it's really tough because you're losing money and gates, and it's quite tough to kind of keep everybody on side because they think that you're not doing as much as you could, but they had to put significant work into their drainage. I just think a good 4G at this level is so good for the community and the first team because it's always there to play on, unless it's really cold, like -4 or whatever. Beyond that, you're going to get your game on. So yeah, I'd say at this level it's the best. Nothing better than a brilliant grass park. We played at Haddington early in the season in a cup game, and their park's really, really good condition. I think the former Hibs groundsman is the groundsman at Haddington, and he's done an amazing job on their surface, but they're kind of few and far between.
Definitely.
Nowadays, yeah.
What's your favourite post-match hospitality, like meal?
Hillfield Swifts did a good one. They went to a wee restaurant that's just along from the stadium. They put on some pizza and chips and stuff for the boys after the game, but everybody's really generous. Edinburgh Uni, they've got a really good setup. They've got a nice wee canteen and clubhouse. They put on a good wee spread as well, but yeah, everybody's pretty good to us when we get out and about, depending on the result. But yeah, Hillfield Swifts I think was probably the nicest.
Would you rather win 1-0 or 4-3?
4-3.
Last minute winner or last minute equaliser after maybe being like 3-0 down or something?
Last minute winner, I think. We had a win up at Thornton Hibs, who were at that time I think second in the league, maybe even top, and I think we gave them a wee surprise because we did a bad start to the season the first couple of games, and we got a couple of late goals in that game. I think it was Schooler, wasn't it, that scored the winner, and they're quite special. I enjoyed
the one up at Kirkcaldy and Dysart.
That was good as well.
That was a really good one.
Was that Darrell's?
That was Darrell's one, aye. No, that was a really good one that day. That was really good.
VAR, keep it or bin it?
Keep it.
Yeah.
I'm actually a fan. Like, listen, you're going to quibble about a close decision, but you're more likely to get it factually right. I just think it's become a bit of theatre as part of the game, and if you're in the stadium, yes, it maybe creates a wee bit of a delay, but it's I think it throws up just different drama. I quite like it. I like technology anyway. I'm quite a techie person, and they need to get better, and they'll do more automated stuff.
But it was even when I was watching one of the English games or something like that, it was clear it was a deflection. It went out for a goal, and I was like, surely the computer or something, I would have went automatically, just went, no, it was clipped off. Exactly. It kind of needs, I think, a wee bit more advancement.
Exactly. But there's games you watch and things look a bit innocuous. Like I was watching the Dundee United Hearts game in the telly the other night, and the boy gets sent off for studs on the ankle of the Hearts player, and in real time it didn't look like much, but you watch it again and again, and it was a wee bit dangerous and a bit naughty, and you're like, actually that should be picked up because that was like a wee bit of deliberately leaving the foot in. So there's ones like that you would have got away with. But I don't know about you guys, but you watch some of those old games like Wimbledon or Graham Souness, like some of the tackles they put in back then, and Roy Keane even in Vieira, that's only 10 years ago or whatever, and it's a different world to what you get away with now.
Definitely. Would you rather Blackburn Rovers win the Champions League or Scotland win the World Cup?
Scotland World Cup. We're going to be in Boston when the two games are on. Haiti and Morocco. We don't have tickets for the game, but we'll be out there, so yeah, that would be, well, obviously a surprise, but that would be fantastic.
Aye, just to be there when Scotland win a game in the World Cup, I think would be phenomenal.
Optimistic.
If I said too much, I don't know. Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Okay.
Well, thanks for coming on to the podcast, Alan. Before we wrap up, is there anybody you'd like to maybe give a shout out to or say anything to the listeners or anything like that?
I want to give a shout out to the players, because quite often, and the guys that are getting the commendations behind the scenes absolutely deserve it, and you've heard them talked about before, but the players work really hard, and it's not easy being a footballer. There's a lot of highs and lows, and if you don't play or you have a bad game, your weekend's ruined and all the rest of it. There's a bunch of players there that are really committed to the club. They want to do really well, they want to improve themselves, and I think they're a really, really good bunch of guys. I think I haven't been involved closely with the club for long, but I feel like this dressing room is the best that I've seen it, and that's brilliant, and they're a really tight bunch, and I just think they've got a lot of talent. I think they're probably better than they think they are, and I want them to have a wee spring in their step, enjoy this second half of the season, and go and finish the job that they've put themselves in a position to start. So
Definitely.
That's good words to end on. I think we'll end on that. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here, guys.
We look forward to enjoying the rest of the season.
Thanks very much.
Definitely.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.